today. First of all, my name's Tony Lubbers, and oh, got another handout here. And I was just brought in as a new financial aid director. I started in September, so I've only been here, what, 4 months? A little over 4 months. And I've been in financial aid since 1996. So I've been a financial aid in several capacities, either director, assistant director, or a financial aid counselor over 21 years. So somehow or another I've made a life of it. It's a very challenging career, and apparently for me to stay in it, because it's what's kind of kept me fascinated about it. Now what I'm here to talk to you guys about is student loan repayment. And I think, how many of you are close to graduating? Pretty close, okay. Seniors or?
Nah, I'm disappointed.
Oh, okay, you're freshmen?
Nah, I'm not a freshman.
Well, the reason why I was asking was, these are some websites you guys are going to need to be aware of as you get closer to graduation, because once you get to where you're no longer enrolled, your 6 months will kick in on your student loan, and then starting that 7th month, you're going to start making repayment, start making payments on your loans. So I figured I'd go over kind of first of all, how to look up what you've borrowed so that you can be aware. That's the biggest part of it. You need to be aware of what you've borrowed and how much, because it can very easily get away from you, and all of a sudden you borrowed $60,000 and you're just wondering where all that went. So it's always a good idea to be aware of what you borrowed. So you can log in at any time. Now I'm assuming all of you have your FSA ID. You don't have to have it with you today, but you had to have it to do your FAFSA. So you all have an FSA ID. That's all you need to get in here to see this. So I'm going to take you first, and you have it on your sheet. Excuse me. You go to nslds.ed.gov, and again, it's on your sheet, so that will take you here. You click on Financial Aid Review, and of course you accept. It's a privacy. And then you use your FSA ID login. I'm hoping I typed mine in right. There we go. So and then of course you have to accept. Any been to this website? Have you seen it? Okay, cool. So once you accept, I don't want to register my cell phone at this time. And bam. Now on your print screens, those are my loans. So, and I didn't care that you guys saw that I had student loan debt. I'm one of you. I have debt. I have student loan debt. But these are all of my loans that I've taken out, and what I liked about showing you my loans was you can see this has got everything. Now you can see I have a parent loan. My daughter went to school for a semester or two at Fringe University, Wichita. I took out a parent loan to help her with her cost. This is not her loan, it's mine. I had a Perkins loan at Wichita State back in 1989. And then you can see I had subsidized loans and unsubsidized, and then when I graduated, I went on to grad school. So these are all grad loans here. But when I graduated and went on to grad school, I took out further loans, and then when I was all done, I consolidated. So you can see my consolidations. And then, this is interesting too, the FFEL was actually loans that you would get through a bank, if you can believe that. There was a time when you could get student loans through a private bank like U.S. Bank. In fact, U.S. Bank was our biggest lender in Wichita, student loan lender. But about 2010 or so, they went to the direct loan program, which means the government is your lender. So when I reconsolidated, because what I did is I lumped this plus loan in with my grad loans and consolidated them all into direct loans, because that's the only entity that does official consolidation loans on student loans. Is the federal government. So I consolidated the 70 unsub, and before it was all done, I think I had about $22,000 when I initially. So that's not bad considering I had undergrad and grad. I had $23,000 in student loan debt. If you had the Perkins, excuse me, if you had the Perkins in there, and I, as you can see, still paying on those loans, even though I have not been in school since 1998. I graduated with my master's in 1998, and I've started paying on those student loans since then. It's been 20 years this year that I've been paying on those. And when I started paying, I owed $23,000, like you saw earlier. I'm down to $10,934 is what I still owe. So I've got 5 more years payments. I think 2022 is when I haven't paid off.
That's so
Yeah. Seems
when you
depressing,
get-
doesn't it? I didn't come here to depress you, I'm
When you
sorry.
get your income tax, like, I thought the government took that away from you. When you have
Only
loans.
if you default. If you get, and a default is classified as being 180 days past due. So if you're behind like 6 months or more, they'll start taking your refunds and stuff. But if you're current, they won't do that.
Oh, okay.
So that's a good thing to do, yeah.
like with the pay periods, like does it, depends on how much you owe back? Like,
We'll get into repayment, different repayment plans, because yeah, you can do like a pay-as-you-earn kind of a thing, or an income-based repayment, so yeah, we'll look at those also. But this, I wanted to show you this screen first, so that if you wanted to know how much you've borrowed, if you've had any kind of student loans, you could go into this screen and you could look up the financial aid review and pull up your loan, which is your loans, all of them. Plus, if you're like, okay, well, now I don't know, I had this subsidized loan back in 1996. Well, I don't know who holds that loan. Well, click on the number over there, and it'll pull up the loan right there. It'll tell you how much you borrowed initially. It'll tell you the disbursements, paid in full, or in repayment, and then it'll tell you the current servicer of the loan. That's who you need to know. There are several entities with student loans. You have a guarantee agency. Well, you don't anymore. But the guarantee agency was, if I defaulted on my loans, what the guarantee agency did was they would come back, pay my loans off for me, so I'd be free and clear with that lender, whoever it was. And then USA Funds, I was on the hook to them. So I don't know if you guys know how, like, if you ever buy a house, let's say you get an FHA or a VA loan, maybe your parents had a VA loan. All that means is if your parents defaulted on a house and they had a VA loan, the Veterans Administration will pay the house off, but then they're gonna come after your parents for that mortgage. So then the VA now owns the house. That's all a guarantee agency does. That means the lender's gonna get their money, is what it means. So, but you don't have really a guarantee agency to deal with, but the servicer is the one you have to deal with. And obviously Navient is not the government. This used to be Sallie Mae. Sallie Mae split off. There's still a Sallie Mae, but Navient is the servicing side of Sallie Mae. So my loans at one time were with Navient. Does that make sense? But this is good, so that if you ever want to go out and see who your servicer is on your loans, bam, it's got the number and everything right there. The other cool thing, now they do it most current. So the most current loan I have would be these direct loans. So I'd scroll down here, and Great Lakes is a Department of Ed servicer, and that's who I've been making my payments to right now. And they have a really good website. You just go to mygreatlakes.org and you can make payments right there online. So they're really good. But that's where you can go to look up all the good info on your loans. Any questions on the NSLDS website? So you'll be able to see everything you need to see there. So let me get out of here. Log off, there it is. Now let me go to the other screen. Now, the other screen I want to show you, and again, I did print screens for what you just saw, and on the back. So if you drill down into loan, you can see what my loan looked like there. Now, I'm on number 4. So in order to determine what you will need to repay, you can go to the Department of Ed's website. It's studentloans.gov. This would be the same website you would have gone to do your master promissory note. Your parents would have gone in here to do a plus loan. You can see entrance counseling, all that stuff. This is where you'd go. So you've likely been here before. So you just log in. So I got to do it again. Excuse me. I'm going to accept because I need to get in there. And this would be where you go, like if I need to complete entrance counseling or whatever, this is where you go to do all that. Or the master promissory note, this is most of the reasons why students would get into this website. So you guys have likely been in here before. But where I'm wanting to refer you is, and you can see down here, my loan servicer. There's the Great Lakes. So this is another place for me to see kind of where my loans are and everything. But I'm scrolling on down to the repayment estimator. So I click on that. So I scroll down. Now what it's done is auto-populated what I still owe and what my interest rate is. And your student loans will come in when you consolidate them, and I recommend you consolidate, because right now all of your loans are, each year they're separate, as you saw on mine. Each year your loan is treated as a separate loan. And the idea is once you get out of school, then do a consolidation. And if you need help with that, come to the financial aid office, we'll be glad to help you with that. But the Department of Ed and Department of Education is the only entity that will consolidate direct loans.
How does the insurance rate work? Like, does it work like per month?
How did they arrive at the 4.9, for example,
Yeah.
on mine? What they do is they take a weighted average of all your student loans, because each of them have a different interest rate, obviously.
Right.
So 1 year you have an interest rate of 5%, the next year it's 4.2 or whatever. What they do is they take a weighted average of all your student loans based on how much you owe with the interest rate, and then that's how they arrive at that. So it's just a weighted average of all your loans together.
So does it increase like the more you don't pay? Like say you pay on it right, like will your interest rate still increase? Since
No, the interest rate, once you consolidate, you're locked in.
Okay.
Yeah, so. Yeah, once you consolidate, you're locked in at that interest rate, unless you reconsolidate, and then that will change it. So like on my loan, when I reconsolidated, I was locked in again at 4.9% until it's paid off.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it won't change. It's a locked rate. So I went ahead, and now as you can see here, I'm going to show you this one first, but then you can click on use average loan balances and you can play around with the numbers. But right now, I'll just show you this one. Show your tax filing status, married. You see where it says add your spouse's loans? You can add your spouse's loans so that you can see just what kind of repayment that would have on both of you, so if both of you had loans. But I don't know if the government lets you anymore, but do not consolidate your loans together. They used to allow the spouses to do that. So you don't want to do that because if something goes wrong in the marriage, then you've got this consolidated debt that you're both obligated to. So keep your loans separate. Consolidate just yours, that sort of thing. I don't even know if they allow spousal consolidations, but don't ever fall into that trap of consolidating those. But I think they let you add them here just so you can figure out what your repayment's going to be, because that's all this page is. So family size, I don't have any children, living in the house. Marital status is married. This is figuring my current loan balance. Let's say I'm making, this is interesting too. You can see the current repayments that I'm eligible for. If I did a standard, as of right now, like if the $10,937 that I currently owe, even though I'm in a repayment now, I'm paying $128 a month on this loan. But if let's say this was the total balance I had, and I consolidated it as of this moment, this is what I'd owe in a standard repayment. So it tells me, okay, to pay $11,000 off, or roughly 11, I'll pay 15. It's depressing. Now if I do a graduated, which means I'm going to start out low, but then they graduate the payments up, I will have paid anywhere from $52 a month initially up to $156 a month, which is, you can see the huge difference. So I'll end up paying $16,500 total over the same amount of time. So these are numbers you want to look at, because you'll have to see, well, this is, now while this will help me in the short term, because if I'm not making as much money, yeah, I can $52, I can handle that easier than 86. There's $34 difference. So if you can just go ahead and do a level repayment, you know what your payment's going to be every month. Just do 86 a month. Here, it's going to go up periodically. Those are just things you want to look at. Now, when you add an adjusted gross, let's say I'm making 70,000.
Oh.
Not 7,000. 70000. Now, there is a pay-as-you-earn. Revised pay-as-you-earn. It's saying that under that repayment plan, I could make that payment a month based on that income. And of course, as you can see, I'm only paying about $700 in interest over 30 months. But that's not a payment plan. And again, you can pick what payment plan you want. This is not a payment plan I'm going to want. I can't afford $400 a month just for my student loan.
It just depends on what kind of like living facilities you at. Like if you're in a studio, you got a good job by yourself, no
Yeah.
kids, you can do that.
Yes, you're right. I mean, it basically comes down to what can you afford based on your budget. And if you don't have a whole lot of other payments, you're gonna pay this sucker off and in 2.5 years, bam, you can do it.
Change that to like 30,000.
That's where I was gonna go next. Let's say you make 25,000,
It's like a jump off.
and now check this down here when that changes. Because now you got all these other options that you can go into because you're making so much less.
Oh no.
And I need to show payment estimated under the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. Now, here's what you're looking at. Are you guys familiar with the Public Service Loan Forgiveness? If you take part in a public service, or if you work in a job that serves the public, let me put it that way, because it does depend. You have to work in certain types of areas and for certain types of employers to be eligible for this. But the theory behind this is it forgives the remaining balance of your direct loans after you've made 10 years worth of payments. So, and you have to be in a qualifying repayment plan. So if you're in a standard repayment or an income driven, and while you're working full-time for a public service employer, you can get you can be eligible for the public service forgiveness. So after 10 years, your amount is forgiven. And that's a good thing. However, now I have been able to substantiate this. Whatever amount is forgiven could be counted as taxable income by the IRS. So that's something, and the government's, the Congress is trying to do away with that. Because let's say you took out $20,000 in loans, you've been making payments for 10 years, you still owe $10,000 after 10 years. Now it's been forgiven under the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. Your $10,000 has been forgiven. Now the IRS says, well, that's income. You just gained $10,000 this year. You should pay tax on it.
No.
Now I've heard the IRS is not doing that, but I just want you to be aware of it, that technically it is taxable income when something is forgiven like that. Now definitely in the case of like when a parent takes out a plus loan or something like that, that isn't going into effect. So it's just on your loans kind of thing. But you can see, depend on if you're income-based repayment. For a new borrower, you've got all these different plans, but you can go out here and explore what you'd be looking at. So if you're looking at income-based repayment, your first monthly payment will be as low as $10, and your last will be $109. And you can see that you will have paid $6,500, $9,700 would be forgiven, and you'd be paying just 10 years. So this website's really good. If you guys could go out here to studentloans.gov and just kind of play around with it. Oh, and this was the other thing I was going to show you. This was just my loans. Now let's say you want to do an average loan balance. Oh, and I didn't change it. I think I left it at Kansas. Yeah, I came from Kansas. You can boo me now if you want. So you can do an average loan balance. And let's just say the average loan balance for a student at a 4-year public in Missouri is $26,946 with an interest rate of about 4%. Now it'll refigure it. Oh, and you got to let's do the 25,000 again. It'll refigure it for the correct state, and it'll tell you everything you're eligible for, and then you just drill down and see. On that $26,000 in debt, you'll be making payments of $272 a month for 10 years, and you'll have paid $32,000 when it's done. That's a standard repayment. Any questions?
Does this come out automatically from your check?
You can set it up that way, but you don't have to.
Okay.
Mine, I go out to the Great Lakes website and I initiate it.
Okay.
I'm never one, I don't trust, because I was set up with Sally Mae for them to just go in and pull it out automatically, but they accidentally pulled 2 payments out in 1 month and I had bounced checks. And it was their fault. Then they took like 6 weeks to get that second payment back into my account. I just don't I don't like companies going and just pulling money out whenever they. Yeah, it's just, I mean, 99% of the time they're going to pull out the right amount, but when you pull out a double payment, that could throw you off of your other bills, and you could have bounce checks,
Yeah.
and it wasn't your fault. So, yeah, it's personal preference. A lot of people just like to have their bills paid for them automatically. But I prefer to initiate it. I don't mind doing them online, but I initiate the payment. So, and Great Lakes, their website's very user-friendly. It was very easy to set up a profile, and then every month, about the 15th, I go in, initiate my payment, and I can pay extra if I want. And you can, when you pay extra, like my payment's $128, so if I wanted to pay $150, I can designate that other $22 to go to principal only, which is what you want, obviously. You don't want it to go to your interest. You want to get that principal in. Does that help? Does that make sense? I think the handout too will help you, because it'll give you those web addresses. Definitely keep the NSLDS one in mind, because that'll let you go look at your loans. This one, the studentloans.gov, will let you type in some repayments and work on the repayment estimator. So, did you guys want to see anything else with that, or does that make sense? Question?